G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass. This isn't a project I'm filming in its entirety, although I might do one later on. I'm just making a little chisel cabinet to go at the end of the workbench in the workshop that I've got in the bedroom for room for woodwork. And this has all been veneered. Now, I've been talking to people recently and they're going, well, isn't veneering hard? How easy to do it? How do you do it? What sort of glue do I use? What equipment do I need? Well, I thought, seeing I veneered this one up, I'll show you just how easy it is to veneer and the minimum amount of equipment that you need. Just get it off the road. So I've got an internal shelf that has to go in that cabinet, and I'm going to veneer it with the same veneer that I've veneered the cabinet with, and that's New Guinea rosewood. It's a nice timber, it's easy to use. Be careful you get splinters out of it, but I'm going to take the two sides of this shelf and I'm going to veneer it with this piece here. You might have noticed this is paperback. The reason for that, the veneer itself is only about 0.3. If I'm using full timber veneer, I generally go about 0.7, 0.8. The process is pretty similar. There is a little difference if you're using straight veneer, but I'll tell you what that is, and in a future video I'll actually show it to you. But this is how easy or how hard it is to do. You'll notice too, it's not so important with the paper veneer, but ordinary veneer, as I've said before, have it running at 90 degrees to the grain. You'll notice the grain on this plywood's going this way, and the grain on the veneer is going at 90 degrees to it. This is a little bit oversized to what I want. So I'll just cut it to whatever size that is. One bit. That's the other bit. So the veneer's cut to size. No, I just use, well, this is baking powder. I used to use wax paper, but appears they don't make it anymore. But this will do. And the only reason I'm using this is because I don't want to get glue over my bench. One bit on the bottom. I like to have the design so they match, so I'll get that nice little knot or pattern in the same spot on both. Turn that way, that way. Plywood on top. So I've got the underneath, plywood, the underneath. I'll look at my glue, and that's a little bit thicker than I'd like it. So just put a squirt of water in it. It's not mathematics, it's not science. After a while you just get a feel for it. Give that a bit of a stir. And if you look at that, what you want that consistency to be is about the same as a good enamel paint, as it just dribbles off the brush, just like that. This is one of the reasons I like high glue over PVAs. I'm not even using a veneer hammer, I'm just using a cork sanding block. Nothing flash at all. Stir the glue up, put it on. I put it on the veneer first. Got to get it on reasonably quickly. But I'm using a 1-inch brush, so it's not a huge wide brush, but it doesn't take long to get it on. Put that to one side, then I do the plywood itself. And while I'm doing this, the glue I just put on that piece of veneer is starting to cool down. So the glue now is starting to go a little bit more gelatinous and sticky. So when we put them together, it's going to hold. Make sure you haven't got any parts you've missed or there's no hairs from the brush. Pick up the piece of veneer, plop it on top, even up the edges. If you haven't got a veneer hammer, a sanding block. Start from the middle, make V shapes or chevron shapes from the middle, then down the other way. Got a splodge of glue on there. Okay, now do the other side. Turn it over. Do the veneer first. And this is real time, folks. There's no time lapse on this at all. See that? Got a hair in there. You've got to get rid of those because sometimes they can poke through the veneer, and if you're sanding or scraping and your veneer is very thin, you can actually go through your veneer where the hair is, which doesn't look good at all. Now we do this. And you notice the pot's been out for a while, and if I stick my finger in there, it's still pretty warm. Excuse me, I've got a cold. And this glue doesn't help. Okay, so I've got a good coverage there. Little insect just landed on that. And one there. Luckily Bob's not here because you'd hear him otherwise. Put the veneer on top, grab up a cork block, chevrons or V's, up and down. And all you're doing is getting the air out so the two glued surfaces meet. And push it down. And then you have one of the greatest clamping devices in the world working for you, which is atmospheric pressure. And you've got, I think it's 14.5 pounds per square inch, acting on that, so there's no air in between. The glue, the high glue that I use, is getting cool, so it's shrinking, so it's actually pulling the top layer of veneer down and pulling it up from onto the plywood, and you've got all that air pressure. Now if I hold that up, you have a look at that. There is no air bubbles, there is no lifting at all. And that is as hard or as simple as it gets to veneer. Now I did say if you're working with solid veneer or one that hasn't got a paper backing on or a cloth backing, the only thing I do sometimes, some veneers, it will tend to curl on you. So if that happens, what I do is put the same amount of glue on the top of the veneer as I do on the bottom, and then it sands off really nice and it acts as a good grain filler as well. Now, if you weren't sure that atmospheric pressure was going to work for you, what you can do, put a bit of plywood on the top, and that's all it takes. If you're concerned that it's not going to hold, just put a couple of weights. A couple of buckets of water. If it's 10 litres in water, that's 10 kilos a bucket. That's going to hold it down. Leave it there for about half an hour if you use hide glue, and it'll be as good as gold. Allow about 24 hours for the glue to actually set and go hard. PVA, it depends. Sometimes PVA can work as well, and sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. But in the meantime, I'm getting the next episode up for the pencil case, and I think there might be only one more after that. The pencil cases are finished. Then I'm moving on to a cedar cabinet called the William Davis cabinet, and after that it's the John Mahoney carving chisel cabinet. And I'll give you a sneak preview of that. I've actually done the door panels, and that's what the door panels are going to look like. On the cabinet. And the cabinet is going to hang up over there on the wall, which you can't see, but I'll show you when I'm doing the cabinet. So Look forward to finishing the pencil cases. Really looking forward to getting into the cedar cabinet, which has got a lot of dovetails in it. I've got half-blind dovetails, through dovetails, and sliding dovetails on it. And nearly all hand tools, but I will give you some power tool alternatives if that's the way you want to go. And if you don't want to use dovetails, that's fine. I'll show you how to do it with mortise and tenons and lap joints and whatever else we come up with. I'm going to go and let Bob clean my hands because they're covered in glue. But until we meet again, this is Steve pulling the shed door down on a very quick little video I thought I'd share with you and saying remember to keep it sharp. But more importantly, keep it safe, enjoy your woodwork, get rid of any air in your veneer, and I look forward to having you at the bench in the shed very, very soon. Bye for now.